Hello and welcome everyone to the September series of DOTx, District Officer Training Extended. I'm very excited to have all of you here. It's an important learning for the district officers, those of you who are here, and of course, those of you who will watch this maybe later on. I hope that you will learn, because today is a very important session on parliamentarianism.
Parliamentary procedures.
Thank you, Gitel. I wouldn't expect less from a parliamentarian. So, I do want to give a bit of background on our presenter for today, Gitel Hesselberg. She's a member of Toastmasters. She has been for 6 years. I can actually say, probably the person I have the longest relationship with Toastmasters with. We're both founding members of Haifa Toastmasters. So we both became members at the same time, although she was in the Perspective Club for slightly longer, a couple months
And
longer.
I was a member of Jerusalem Toastmasters first.
True. But we have been members in Toastmasters for all of that time together. So ever since when we were undistricted to becoming districted, and everything, there has been a whole process. So it's a very long relationship here. Of course, during that time, she has been president, VPE, VPPR, secretary. She's also been area director, the first area director since that when we became districted. And also she was a division director in our district. So currently she actually is serving as the parliamentarian for District 109. And as parliamentarian, her role is to assure that meetings are run properly and to consult with our district director, our dear Katya, when needed. This evening, Gitel will explain the fundamentals of parliamentary procedures so that you will know how to handle issues that come up during meetings. So, welcome and give a round of applause or air hands or whatever to Gitel Hesselberg.
Thank you. Thank you all. I want to start by asking everybody to raise your virtual hand. Everybody, raise your virtual hand. Oh, still a couple of people. I see some people applauding, not raising your virtual hand. You have to click on raise hand. And two people, Lori and Maria, still need to raise their hand. Okay, Lori, it's up to you. You may have something that says raise hand and you can click on that, or you may have something that says react and then click bottom. Yes. Okay, now you can all lower your hands. I wanted to make sure everybody knew how to raise their hand, because I am going to be sharing my screen, which means if you want to talk to me and you just go like this, I may not see you. But if you raise your hand, you will advance to the top of the screen and I will see you. So let's get started.
And I'll keep an eye out in case someone raises or asks a question.
Katya, do you have a question now, or you just didn't lower your hand? Okay. If you have a question while I'm speaking, raise your hand and I can hear your question. Feel free to interrupt as often that you want. So let's begin with, who was Robert and why do we need his rules? So let's start with the history. This is Henry Martin Robert. He eventually became a brigadier general in the army, but he was an engineering officer. And in 1863, he was asked to preside at a meeting or if there's anything important in chat, let me know.
No, it's Laurie. She didn't figure out how to raise the hand.
Okay. So he was asked to preside in a meeting. He didn't know how to preside in a meeting, but he was afraid that saying no would not be good. So he did it to the best of his ability. And he decided that he would never preside in another meeting until he knew what he had to do. So he started studying parliamentary procedure. And he wrote the rules down on a piece of paper, which he carried in his wallet. One piece of paper. In 1867, he was promoted to major and he was ordered to San Francisco. There, he and his wife got involved with a lot of different organizations. And of course, everybody in these organizations came from somewhere else. They each had their own way of doing things. So there was chaos. So he decided what was needed was a standardized set of rules for running meetings. And he hoped that it would run to 16 pages. In 1871, he was transferred to Portland, Oregon, and here he knew for sure there has to be a manual. And finally, in 1874, he started writing his manual. He finished it in 1875, and it was called the Pocket Manual of Rules of Order for Deliberative Assemblies, and it was completed then. We'll talk about deliberative assemblies in a few moments. It was published in 1876 under the title Robert's Rules of Order. The publisher gave it that name. The only way he could get it published was to pay to have 4,000 copies printed and bound, and to agree to give 1,000 copies away to parliamentarians around the country. That left 3,000 copies, which he assumed would take 2 years to distribute. They sold out in 4 months. And he had to revise the manual. And he revised and revised and revised over the years. And now we are up to the 12th edition. This is the current edition. This is the one we use. It has expanded from his original 16 pages. It is now 649 pages. It's a lot. I don't recommend you get it unless you're really into parliamentary procedure or some kind of nerd and you really like this stuff. Instead, we have this book. It's the in brief version. It's only 190 pages. It's very easy to read. And I do recommend that anybody who's responsible for running a meeting or even just attending a meeting should have this, so you know what's happening, how meetings are run. So now that we have the history, why do we need a parliamentary authority? And Robert's Rules of Order, newly revised, 12th edition, is our parliamentary authority. For one thing, it helps meetings run smoothly, which is very important. But it also protects the rights of the majority, of the minority, especially a strong minority of, say, 1/3 of the members, of individual members, of absentees, and of all of these together. And this list comes right out of Robert's Rules of Order, newly revised, newly revised page 49 of the beginning pages. What is a deliberative assembly? We said that's what these rules are for. It's a non-legislative organization that conducts meetings according to parliamentary law. So in other words, it's not Congress, it's not your state legislature, it's not the parliament of your country. It's an organization specifically that meets to consider and decide on actions to be taken. That should sound familiar. That's like our club executive committees, like the district council, the area council. Any organization that has to decide actions is a deliberative assembly. So now we have the meeting. What happens at the meeting? This might not take all of 2 hours, by the way. So we have to have some officers at the meeting. We need to have a president. The president presides over the meeting and is called the chair. Now, the president is whoever is in charge of the meeting. At a DECM or a DCM, it's the district director. At the area council, it's the area director, division director at a division council. It's the president of the club, if we're talking about the club level. And we need a secretary. The secretary makes a written record of what is done, which we call the minutes. Now, let's talk about quorum. A quorum is, and this is a little quiz, 50% plus one, more than 50%, or some other number. And does everybody here know the difference between 50% plus one and more than 50%? Is there anybody who needs it explained? Okay.
You can just unmute if you have the question.
Yes. Okay.
I
Let's
think
say
Laurie is
yes.
unmuted.
Let's say you have 10 members. So 50% plus one, 50% is 5, plus 1 is 6. So that would be 50% plus 1. But what if you have 11 members? 50% is 5.5. So 6 is already more than 50%. It's not 50% plus 1. 50% plus 1 would be 6.5, but more than 50%. So if you have an odd number, it's just 50% rounded up to the next number. If it's an even number, then yes, 50% plus 1 would be more than 50%. But maybe it's some other number. Well, let's see. It's not 50% plus 1. It's not more than 50%. It could be some other number. And in the case of a DCM or a DECM, it's 1/3 of the member clubs in good standing, which is far less than 50%. And that comes from the District Administrative Bylaws, Article 10, Section C. If you are not familiar with the governing documents of Toastmasters, I highly suggest you take a look. If you go to the website and type in the search box, governing documents, they will come up. And you have the club constitution, which is very important if you're a club officer. And you have the district administrative bylaws, which is very important if you're a district officer. There are also policies and procedures. There's a lot of information in the governing bylaws, all very important. So now let's talk about the standard order of business. In other words, the agenda. We have a call to order, approval of agenda, reading and approval of minutes, reports, unfinished business, new business. What is the call to order? Would anybody like to answer that? Nobody wants to answer it. It's very simply.
It's starting the meeting.
It's starting
officially.
Yes. I call this meeting to order at 7 o'clock on such and such a date. That's the call to order. Very simple. Usually done by the presiding officer, could be done by a sergeant at arms. But that's all it is, saying the meeting's about to start. And then there's the approval of the agenda. Now, here's an interesting question. Does the agenda need to be approved? Okay.
Yes.
I'd assume so, yes.
Yes, everybody says yes. The answer is maybe. If you have a standard agenda that you use at every single meeting and it never changes, it doesn't have to be approved. But if you have an agenda that changes from meeting to meeting, or you have a meeting where it's going to be a little bit different, yes, it has to be approved. Do you have to have a motion to approve the agenda?
No.
Very good. You don't. The chair of the meeting can just ask, are there any objections to approving the agenda? Look around. Nobody objects? Without objection, the agenda is approved. Now we have the reading and approval of minutes. Do the minutes have to be read at the meeting? Anybody want to guess? Okay, again, the answer is maybe. In general, if the minutes were distributed ahead of time, they do not have to be read. However, if anybody at the meeting says they want the minutes to be read, then they would have to be read. I didn't receive the email with the minutes. I want the minutes to be read. Or I received the email 5 minutes ago. I have not had time to read the minutes. I would like the minutes to be read. In which case, the minutes would have to be read. But in general, if you get the minutes distributed ahead of time, more than 5 minutes ahead of time, then they don't have to be read at the meeting. Do you need a motion to approve the minutes?
No.
Very good. You don't. The chair should ask, are there any corrections to the minutes? You sometimes hear people say, are there any additions or corrections? By definition, an addition is something that was left out. So this is a correction. So all you have to ask, are there any corrections to the minutes? And if there aren't any, then the minutes are approved as read, or the minutes are approved as distributed, or the minutes are approved as corrected once there are no more corrections to be made. And then we have reports. The reports are from different officers, different committee chairs. Whoever has to report on something, this is where the reports go. By the way, this is something interesting. At a club executive committee meeting, there's a proper order for the officer reports. Start with Sergeant at Arms, then Treasurer, Secretary, VPPR, VPM, VPE. It goes in reverse order of hierarchy. And then we have unfinished business, which is exactly what it sounds like. Anything that was started at a previous meeting and didn't get finished, that's your unfinished business. New business is anything new that was never discussed before. So that is how a meeting is arranged. And now, how do we make decisions? With motions. How many different kinds of motions are there? Or you have a question?
I do have a question.
Okay.
It's about the reports. Because you mentioned that in a club level, usually maybe the president doesn't do a report. And yet in the district, at least the DECM and DCM, right, the district director gives a report, and of course all the others. Is there actually a rule that says whether the presiding officer gives a report or no?
No, he can if he wants to.
Okay. Great,
Okay.
thanks.
Now I want to ask you to put in the chat your guess as to how many different kinds of motions there are. Too many does not count. Let's have some numbers here. 5, okay. 50, okay. I'd like to see a few more guesses. We have a lot of people here. I'd like to see more than 2 guesses. I can wait.
We have another person who wrote 5, yeah.
Okay. As many as necessary.
As many as necessary.
Not really a good answer. So we have 5, 50. Oh, somebody wrote 1, or that's just one person reacted.
Yeah, it's a reaction.
Yes. As many as necessary? Yeah, but how many is that? I want a few more guesses before I go on. Maybe around 10. Excellent guess. How many types? Yes, how many different types of motions? 4, okay. The number of motions, not the kinds.
The types, I thought you meant actual motions. Okay, yeah.
The number of kinds of motion, different kinds of motions. Like there's a main motion, there's a motion to amend, there's etc. Okay, I guess people are afraid to guess.
Yeah, another person wrote 5, yeah.
Yes, so I'm going to have to tell you. There are 98 different kinds of motions. We are not going to discuss 98 different kinds of motions. Most of them you will never, ever need. And in the event something crazy happens, that's why you have a parliamentarian, to take care of those weird things that happen. We're going to discuss just a few kinds of motions. You can count them on one hand, maybe even have fingers left over. So how do you make a motion? The first step is you have to be recognized by the chair. And you do that by calling out Mr. President or Madam President. By the way, the word madame is a French word. In English, we have a word madam. One of my pet peeves is that people mispronounce that word all the time. Madam President or Madam Chair, Madam District Director. The chair will recognize that person, Mr. A. And then that member will say, I move that, and then state what the motion is. People say, I motion, no, I move that, whatever the motion is. I move that we donate $500 to the orphans of the war in the Ukraine. Or I move that we have a potluck dinner as part of the decum. Whatever you want, it's I move that, and then you state the motion. The motion has to be seconded. What does that mean? What does it mean to second a motion? That you agree with the motion? That you disagree with the motion? Or that you believe the motion should be considered? I always thought that it meant you agree with the motion, until I started learning parliamentary procedure and discovered that that's not what it means. And in one of my clubs, as president, I started holding meetings according to parliamentary procedure. I didn't realize they didn't know anything about parliamentary procedure. And several of the members thought seconding meant they disagreed. It doesn't mean you agree, and it doesn't mean you disagree. It just means you believe the motion should be considered. And there is no issue that is so dangerous it can't be talked about. So there should always be somebody willing to second the motion. After it's seconded, the chair states the question, which is, it is moved and seconded that, states the motion. And now we consider the motion. There's a debate. Now, first I'm going to talk about Robert's Rules of Order in terms of debate. So the maker of the motion has the right to speak first. Speakers should alternate between for and against the motion. In other words, the person who made the motion, obviously he's for the motion, he speaks first. Next is somebody who's against the motion, then someone who's for the motion, then someone who's against the motion. And according to Robert's rules, each person may speak twice on the same motion, and each person may speak up to 10 minutes. Any organization can set their own rules for debate. And in District 109, at our DCM and DECM, each person may speak once, no more than 2 people for, 2 people against, and up to 2 minutes. So it's a lot shorter. What if you don't like the rules? We'll get to that in a minute. Putting the question. If there's no further debate, and there could be no further debate for 2 reasons. One, we've already had the maximum number of people speak. Or it could be that nobody else wants to speak. At which point the chair would say, is there any further debate? Look around. Nobody has a hand up. Then the question is on the adoption of the motion that, whatever the motion was. Those in favor of the motion say aye. Those opposed say no. And that's it. Now, usually we ask people to raise their hand because it's hard to tell, especially on Zoom, how many people said aye and how many people said no. One thing I hear people say after those in favor, those opposed, any abstentions? What's that all about? Abstaining means you're not voting. So if you're asking people if they're abstaining, you're asking them to vote that they're not voting. So you don't ask, you just ask for those in favor, those opposed. You don't ask for abstentions. So for example, you have 50 people in attendance. 35 of them vote in favor and 15 vote against. That's 50. 5 people vote against. So you have 40 people who voted total. There are 10 abstentions. The favors plus the opposed are the total votes minus the and everybody else is an abstention. You don't have to ask them to vote, not to vote. And then the chair announces the result, reports which side has it, declares that the motion is adopted or lost, and indicates the effect of the vote if needed. In other words, the ayes have it and the motion is adopted. The noes have it and the motion is lost. What does it mean? Indicates the effect of the vote if needed. Anybody have any ideas what that would refer to?
Like, if, for example, if something is like in effect immediately, we say that, so, you say, okay, say we do a motion to adjourn right away, then, okay, we're adjourned. Yeah.
Actually, it's a
Okay.
little bit different. Let's say the motion is to repave our parking lot, if we had a parking lot. So then if the motion passes, then the chair would appoint somebody to be in charge of making sure the parking lot gets repaved. It would, something like that would probably be more complicated. If the motion is to donate $100 to Easy Speak, then it would be, the ayes have it, the motion is adopted. The treasurer will please donate the $100 to Easy Speak. So if something has to be done, that would be the effect of the vote. Now let's change the rules of the debate. We don't like the rules we have. 2 people for, 2 people against, 2 minutes each. So maybe you feel that the debate is too long. So then you would make a motion to limit the debate. I move that in the debate on the pending motion is the one that you are working on right now, the one that you're debating. So this would not apply to any other motion happening in the meeting, only this one particular motion. So I move that in the debate on the pending motion, each member may be limited to 5 minutes, or each member may speak only once, or we close the debate after 20 minutes. So those are motions that would shorten the debate. Maybe you feel that it's an important thing and should be discussed longer. So you would want a motion to extend limits of the debate. I move that in the debate on the pending motion, each member may speak 3 times, or each member may speak up to 20 minutes. And maybe you just want to end the debate. You think it's gone on long enough. Let's get rid of it. That would be the motion for the previous question. And this is very simple. I move the previous question. And that means you would take a vote immediately. But what does it take for those motions to pass? Each of those motions, whether it's limiting the debate, extending the limits of the debate, or moving the previous question, it needs to be seconded, just like any other motion. It's not debatable. So once you're trying to decide to limit the debate or extend the debate, you're not going to debate on should we make the debate longer or shorter. So there's no debating. And it requires 2/3 majority to pass. So unlike most motions that require a simple majority, more than 50%, this one takes 2/3. And we're going to talk about these numbers a little later. But for now, just know 2/3. Now it's your turn. And how many people do we have? 10. Okay. Laura, could you please open up 2 breakout rooms? Put 5 people in each breakout and don't open it yet, just set them up. And what you're going to do in the breakout room, let me stop sharing so I can see some faces. What you're going to do in the breakout room, choose somebody to be president and somebody to be secretary. And then somebody is going to make a motion. Somebody else will have to second it. And then you're going to debate the motion. And I will give people 10 minutes. Do you think 10 minutes is enough? Maybe 15? To debate the motion.
You're
And
the
then
boss.
you're going to, okay, somewhere between 10 and 15 minutes, and then you will vote on the motion. And then when we get back, the secretary of your group will report what was the motion and what was the result. Did the ayes have it or did the noes have it? And as secretary, you need to record who made the motion. You don't record who seconded it, just who made the motion. So now if you could put people into 2 breakout rooms.
Yep. I'm just changing up the order here a little bit so that it's
Good idea. I knew I could count on you.
because it just went for like all right. The rooms are open. the session closed, but I want to finish saying once.
Okay. Okay, good. So for the people in Laura's room, what was the motion? Who made the motion and what was decided?
You said number one.
Wait a minute, Katerina, you were in my room, not Laura's room.
Okay, in your room. Okay.
I want to know from Laura's room first.
Katja, you wanna?
Yeah, the motion was we want to donate 1,000 euro for Easy Speak.
Okay.
The motion was
who
made by
the motion?
Katja.
But we didn't vote.
No, Katja made the motion, but we actually didn't vote on it because we're just talking, and you can say debating, but it wasn't really debate, but yeah, it was info
Okay.
nonetheless.
Yes, we were a lot quicker. Okay, Katerina. What was the first motion?
The first motion was about canceling the winter season. And because I have to explain the reasons for this motion.
No, you just have to explain, just have to say who made the motion.
Lori made the motion.
Okay, and did it pass or did it fail?
We had two people, 2 yes and 2 no.
Okay, and then we had a second motion.
The second motion was by Malta, and she proposed to a new charter German language club in the district, because she feels that we have to enlarge to create a community who wants
Okay, you
to
don't
speak.
have to give the reason.
Yes,
You don't
yes.
have to give the
Okay,
reason.
sorry.
Okay.
And
no problem.
and the motion passed with 4 yes and 1 no.
Okay,
That's
very
it.
good. So we have a general idea of how motions work. And let's go back. Wait a second.
Katja has her hand raised.
Katja, you
Right.
have a question?
Yes, we have some questions. I mean, I have some questions. The first
Okay.
is, should we always debate, and in which way we should open debate? I just need to say open debate, or when we need to debate.
You don't always have to debate, but usually you will. And after the motion has been seconded and you state what the motion is, then you would ask whoever made the motion to speak first.
Right.
Let's say, so in this case, Lori had made the motion to cancel winter. And so you would ask her, Lori, would you like to speak in favor of the motion? And she can say no, but chances are she'll say yes, because she's going to want to explain that the weather is terrible and so let's get rid of the whole season. And then you would ask somebody else if they want to speak against it.
Okay, so for example, for the change of procedure, we present the change, right? Maybe it should be okay, but apparently we need someone that make the motion, or we can write the motion. And who,
Yes.
because if I'm the chair, should I read the motion, or someone else like the administrator?
You should read it. You should read it.
So
You may have to have the secretary help you read it.
Okay.
Depending on, how it was stated.
Okay. So, and someone should say just I second, apparently, right?
Yeah.
And then
Yes.
I should ask, are there any discussion, or?
You can ask the person who made the motion if he or she would like to speak. Or you could ask, is there any discussion on this?
Okay, because if I do the motion, it seems that I need to talk about the change.
Yes.
But okay, so maybe it's better
Yes.
to ask, are there
Right,
any
but-
discussion?
If it's something that doesn't seem to want discussion, you can say, if nobody objects, look around, make sure nobody objects, then the motion passes by unanimous consent.
Okay, perfect. Okay, thank you.
Yes.
Otherwise, everything other, it will be reason to open the discussion if someone make a motion. Okay, that's clear.
Yes.
And regarding the budget, for example, if we present the budget, right? So the motion
Yes.
is clear. I move that the budget is approved as it presented.
Yes.
And
Yes.
in this case, I will do the same. I will ask if there are any objection.
Right. Right.
Okay.
Yes. I can't even imagine how awful it would be if somebody wants to start debating the budget.
Otherwise, the DCM will be 3 hours just for budget.
Yes.
It'll be worse
So,
than
okay.
alignment than realignment.
Yeah. Oh, it would be
So-
terrible. Okay. In my presentation, I forgot something, so I'm going to bring it up now. There are two other things, something called a point of order. Something's happening and you think that somebody's making a mistake and not following proper procedure. You don't have to wait to be recognized. You just call out point of order. And then the chair, in this case, the district director, will call on you and ask you what you believe is the problem. So you can say, I believe that this person spoke out of turn, or this person, whatever, or maybe this is not something proper to be debated, whatever it is. And then the chair will rule on whether your point of order is well taken or not. And if so, she may need to explain. But it could be that there's something that maybe you have an amendment that needs a 2/3 majority to pass. Or one of those motions we talked about to limit the debate needs 2/3. And you get 50%. You have 50 people in the meeting and 26 people vote in favor. She says, okay, the motion passes. Well, that's wrong because it's supposed to be 2/3. So that's when you would say point of order. I believe that's supposed to be a 2/3 majority. And then the district director would probably turn to the parliamentarian and say, is it really 2/3 or is it just majority? And the parliamentarian would quickly grab the book and look at, yeah, 2/3. Okay, so that would be a case for point of order. Or there's point of information. If you don't understand something, you call out point of information and ask for the information. Okay, now we will continue. And we're going to talk about amendments. So let's have an example motion, which is, I move that the next DECM be held in Athens on 24 December. Now, that's not going to be a popular motion because Christmas Eve, nobody wants to have a DECM on Christmas Eve, but okay, so here's our motion.
Well, in Athens, it's the Orthodox Church. It's 2 weeks.
Yeah, that's
later.
true. Okay, so now the chair would state, it has been moved and seconded that the next DECM be held in Athens on 24 December. So we want to change the motion. We do that with an amendment. So remember, our original motion is, I move that the next DECM be held in Athens on 24 December. Orthodox Easter is different. Orthodox Christmas isn't. So you have an amendment to insert words. My best friend in high school was Greek. So you would say, I move to insert the words at 1800 CET after the words in Athens. That would change the motion to be that the next DECM be held in Athens at 1800 CET on 24 December. That's a motion, that's an amendment to insert words. A similar one, here's our original motion again, is to add words. I move to add the words at 1800 CET. So that would change the motion to that the next DECM be held in Athens on 24 December at 1800 CET. Can somebody tell me what is the difference between the motion to insert words and the motion to add words? Because basically it's the same effect here. But what's the difference?
Inserting is in the middle of the motion and adding is at the end of the motion?
Excellent, yes. That's the only difference. Sometimes, in this case, it really doesn't change anything where you put these words. In some cases, it might. So you should be aware that two different motions, add words or insert words. Back to our original motion, you might want to strike out words. I move to strike out the words in Athens. You don't want to go to Athens. So now that would mean that the next decum be held on 24 December. And it doesn't say where, which means it would have to be decided by another motion somewhere along the line. And then there's one more. Strike out and insert words. I move to strike out the words in Athens and insert the words in Rome. So that would change it to that the next decum be held in Rome on 24 December. So you can make an amendment to change the motion. And maybe somebody doesn't like Christmas Eve. So that person might make a motion to strike out 24 and insert 20. So it would be before Christmas. And then somebody else might think, well, yeah, I don't want Christmas Eve either, but the 20th is still too close. I move that we strike out 20 and insert 18. Now you can't do any more after that. You can have only two amendments. So first you would vote on the amendment to change it to 18. And if that passes, then you'd still have to vote on the amendment to change it to 20. But chances are, if you already decided on 18, you're not going to change it to 20. And then you would vote, once you have all the amendments taken care of, you vote on the amended motion. That's the last thing you do, is vote on the main motion. Now, sometimes you have a long motion. So you want to amend paragraphs, not just a couple of words. So you can insert a paragraph, which is just like inserting words, only you're inserting a full paragraph in the middle of the motion somewhere. You can add a paragraph. That's at the end of the motion, just like adding words is at the end. Now you're adding a paragraph at the end. You can strike out an entire paragraph. Now with words, we had strike out and insert. You can't do that with an entire paragraph. What you can do is substitute, which is the same thing. You are taking out a whole paragraph and putting in a different paragraph. That's a substitute. It's not called strike out and insert as it is with words. Is everybody clear on that? Okay, I don't see any questions. So now it's your turn. We're going back into the breakout rooms, and this time somebody's going to make a motion and somebody else is going to amend the motion. You will vote on the amendment first and then vote on the motion. So, Laura, if you could please send us into breakout rooms again. And it can be the same.
How long
breakout
would you
room.
like them?
I'll send you a WhatsApp message.
No, because I could do an automatic, like to close them automatically.
Yeah, you know what? I'll send you a WhatsApp message
Okay.
because I'm not sure how long it will take. And I closed them too soon last time, and I won't do that again, I promise.
Okay. Okay. Well, I'm opening them.
Okay.
we're here.
We're missing somebody from your room.
Wait, no, we're not.
We had 10 people before, now we have 9.
Yeah, Jana left.
Okay,
Like 20 minutes ago, 30 minutes ago.
okay. So, who was your secretary?
We had a secretary.
So, what motions did you have and amendments?
Well, we had just the amendment for changing the amount from to donate to Easy Speak from 1,000 euros to 2,000 euros.
We're very generous, okay.
We're
And
very
did-
generous.
yes?
And I don't think again there was some debate, and then there was no vote in the end because we just kind of ended up talking about other things, about how to when and how to do motions based on the culture. So
Okay.
yeah.
So our secretary was Elia. Elia, would you like to report on what we did?
Yes, of course, we had 2 votes. No, sorry, not 2 votes, 2 motions. The first one moved by Katerina. It was about only women can speak when the issue is only about women, to which Gitel wanted to add the words only over 50 and 10 years old after the words only women. So the old phrase was only women all over 50 can speak when the issue is about women, which was voted for the yes, 3 yes and 2 no's.
No, the vote didn't pass. It failed.
Okay.
The vote about over 50 failed.
Okay.
But then we voted on the motion.
I have 2 votes indeed, but at a certain point I got lost which was the vote about. But for both, I had a winning of the yes.
Okay.
So in the first one, I counted 3 yes and 2 no, and the second one, I counted 3 yes and 1 no.
Okay. And then for the second motion?
The second motion was moved by our parliamentarian Gitel, and it was about all houses of the member of the region should be cleaned by government money, with government money, to which Lori
Almost, not quite. It was
was
the
about second.
members of the district should have their houses cleaned by members of the trio.
Originally, it was about government money. Then it changed to the trio, to which Meltem added the words of the region, made the move to adding the words of the region, and to which Katerina made a further motion to add the number 10 at the end of the sentence, referring to region 10, going backwards from the number 10 to the original motion. All of them were approved with all 4 yes available in our room. So all of them were approved.
Yes. So now all the members of our trio have to clean all the houses of the members of Region 10, and I am really looking forward to that.
Yeah, set my robot instead of me in lieu of
Okay, where am I? Okay, good. So any questions before we continue? Okay, here we go. Postponing. Sometimes we don't want to tackle something right away. So you can move to postpone. And that would be, I move to postpone the motion until 1900 or until the next meeting, or, but not longer than 3 months usually. So in a case where your next meeting is 6 months from now, you can't postpone it that long. So you would have to take it up later in the day, or perhaps until a special meeting can be called in 2 months, something like that. And then there's something called laying on the table. Now, you hear people say all the time when they want to postpone a motion, let's table the motion. No, we don't table a motion. We postpone a motion, or we lay it on the table. It's a move to lay on the table. I move to lay the motion on the table. That doesn't have a time limit. That will be taken up again when the majority wants to. Now, why would you want to lay a motion on the table? Because something just came up that is urgent and needs to be taken care of immediately. So, for example, okay, so we get an alert saying that this won't mean anything to anybody here other than Laor. But let's say we all get an alert that says that we might get a siren in 3 minutes, meaning that there might be an incoming ballistic missile. So we might want to lay the motion on the table to wait to see if we actually get the alert, so that we're not interrupted by a siren. Or something else could happen. Maybe this debate has gone on too long and the caterer wants to serve the lunch already before the lunch gets ruined. So you may want to lay it on the table until after lunch. And then after lunch, you would say, okay, let's take the motion off the table and get back to it. So that would be why you would want to lay it on the table. Or do you have a question?
So, Mike, if it's like, for example, the emergency one, wouldn't it more you do like the it's not point of information, it's the point of it's the other one. It's like, okay, it's immediate that you go away because the room is too hot or the room is too cold, or
Yeah,
it's one of those, right? And it's not up for debate.
Yeah, you could do that. If you're going to lay it on the table, there is no debate on this and no amendment. So it's basically the same thing. Just like the caterer is telling me if he doesn't serve the lunch now, it's all going to be ruined. I move that we lay the motion on the table. And then after lunch, when we come back, somebody say, okay, I move to take the motion off the table. But yeah, it could be done like if the room is too hot or too cold or whatever. Yes. And now let's talk about committees. There are 2 kinds of committees: standing committees and special committees. A standing committee is a committee that you always have. For example, there's always going to be an alignment committee or a fundraising committee or a social committee, something like that. A special committee would be something that would be convened just for something special. Like, I noticed that our roof was leaking, so let's get a committee to look into repairing the roof. You don't always need a roof repair committee. That would be something special. So you would say, for a standing committee, I move that the motion be referred to the fundraising committee and that they report at the next meeting. If it's a special committee, I move to refer the motion to a committee of 7 people with Mr. A as the chair and 5 other people to be chosen by the president, and that they report at the December meeting, something like that. So this is a motion to refer. Could also be called a motion to commit because it's going to a committee, but motion to refer. And now what if we want to change our mind? We voted, we decided something, now we want to think better of it. There's the move to reconsider. I move to reconsider the vote on donating 2,000 euros to Easy Speak. Now, who can make this motion? Only somebody. First of all, it has to be made at the same meeting. We just voted on it, and now it's like 20 minutes later, and I'm thinking, why did we vote for 2,000 euros? It's so much money. So I move to reconsider the vote on donating 2,000 euros to Easy Speak. The only person who can make this motion is somebody who voted for it. You have to have voted on the winning side to reconsider. Or if the motion failed, somebody who voted on the losing side, well, the winning side, that voted against it. I move to reconsider the vote on donating 2,000 euros to Easy Speak. I voted against it, but now I realize it's a good idea. So we can reconsider that motion. So only somebody who voted on the winning side can bring the motion. Now we can move to rescind a motion. This would be something we did at a previous meeting. So at our last meeting, we voted to donate 2,000 euros to Easy Speak. We haven't done it yet. So now anybody can make this motion. I move to rescind the motion to donate 2,000 euros to Easy Speak. And then you would once again redebate the motion, and maybe the vote would be different this time, maybe not. Or I move to amend. I move to amend the motion to about Easy Speak. I move to strike out 2,000 euros and insert 1,000 euros. As long as whatever action was voted on hasn't been taken yet, you can still rescind the motion or amend the motion. Now, let's say the motion failed. We had this motion to donate 2,000 euros to Easy Speak, and it failed. We don't have to rescind the motion. It never happened. It didn't pass. So now if you want to do it, you can bring up the same motion again at another meeting. I move that we donate 2,000 euros to Easy Speak. Somebody may say, we already voted on that last time. Yeah, but we've got different people here this time. I want to vote again. And maybe some people changed their mind. So I'm bringing up the motion again. So that's how you can change your mind about a motion. Any questions? And then we end the meeting. I move to adjourn the meeting. And that's easy. It does require a second, but there's no debate and no amendments. So I move to adjourn the meeting. We vote on it. It's a simple majority. So now let's talk about voting. We talked about majority vote and 2/3 vote, and Laura has a question.
For ending the meeting, could you also do the other where it's like, okay, if there is no objection, I will adjourn the meeting?
Yeah.
Does that,
yeah.
okay.
Yes. Okay, what is a majority? What is a plurality? Majority or 2/3 of whom? So the majority is the majority of the people who are voting. So if you have 50 people in the meeting and only 40 people vote, then the majority would be 21. And what is a plurality? Let's say you have 3 people running for office, and one person gets 30% of the vote, and one person gets 35% of the vote, and one person gets 25% of the vote. And I think I did that right. Whatever it is, you have, I didn't
Yeah,
work
you
out
did
these
it.
numbers
It's
beforehand.
35, yeah, but okay.
Yeah. So let's say you have a 40, a 30, 40 and 2/30s. So 40% is not a majority, it's a plurality. And a plurality never wins anything. It always has to be a majority. Now, according to Robert's Rules of Order, let's say it's an election and we have 3 people running for office and there's a plurality but no majority. You vote again. Now, in Toastmasters, we do it a little differently. The lowest vote getter, we drop off. Roberts doesn't allow that, but that's our Toastmasters rule, so that's how we do it. And same thing with the majority or 2/3 of whom, it's the voting members. It's those who vote. So abstentions don't count. And sometimes a vote requires a majority or 2/3 of the entire membership. It's a lot of people. Are we talking about every member of Toastmasters? Maybe. Sometimes you have an organization where the members don't vote. The members at large don't vote. Only the board votes. So the entire membership would be those who vote. Or maybe you have 2 tiers of members. You have full members and associate members. Only the full members get to vote. So the entire membership would be the full members, not the associate members. We don't have that in Toastmasters exactly. There is something called an honorary member, but I don't know any club that actually has honorary members. Honorary members don't vote. And then there's unanimous consent. You don't need a motion, and only if there are no objections. So somebody says, you know, I really think we should get pizza for lunch. You know, you don't have to make a motion. If the district director says, anybody against that? Okay, if there are no objections, we're getting pizza for lunch. I'm voting in favor of pizza for lunch. I'm not objecting. Now, when can the chair vote? That was a question that came up in our breakout room. Can the president, the chair of the meeting, vote? Sometimes. Always, if there is a secret ballot, then the person can vote because nobody knows who he or she voted for. A president, a chair of the meeting, is supposed to remain impartial. But if it's a secret ballot, then nobody knows, so nobody knows how that person voted. Otherwise, when the chair's vote will change the outcome, and there are 2 different ways this could happen. One is to break a tie, and one is to create a tie. Huh? What does that mean? So let's say you have a group of 10, whatever it is, the vote is 5 in favor, 5 against. That's a tie. If there's a tie, the vote doesn't pass. You have to have a majority. So when it's tied, if the chair wants the vote to pass, wants the motion to pass, the chair can then vote, and that will break the tie. So now instead of 5 and 5, it's 6 and 5, and that breaks the tie, and the motion will pass. But what happens if you have 5 and 4? 5 people voted in favor, 4 people voted against. But the chair does not want the motion to pass. Then the chair can vote against. And now it's 5 in favor, 5 against. It's a tie. The motion does not pass. And I know that's a little confusing. I'm going to stop sharing for a minute. I want to know if anybody has any questions. Oh, I see we're down to 7 people now. Does anybody have any questions? And mainly, I want to see the looks on people's faces. If I see people looking as if they're confused, then I will explain a little more.
Yes, I have a question.
Okay.
If the chair must remain impartial, why should they create a tie? Because it's against impartiality.
That's when that's the only time that the chair can lose the impartiality, is to break a tie or to create a tie. But in general, the chair does not vote. Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Let's talk about officers. There's a president, or sometimes it's the vice president. If the president isn't available, the vice president would preside over the meeting. There are 6 things a president or whoever presiding over the meeting needs to know. Memorize the constantly used procedures. So things like how to make a motion, how to second a motion, how to vote on a motion, how to debate a motion. This is something that's constantly used. The president needs to know this. The president has to make sure everybody knows what's being debated and voted on. And this can get confusing, especially if you're dealing with amendments. So make sure, sometimes a motion can be worded strangely. It can be worded in the negative. So that if you're voting in favor of the motion, you're voting that something won't happen. So the president has to make sure that everything is clear and that people know what they are voting on. Learn how to conduct the voting. The president has to know how to do the voting. Are you just asking for a voice vote? Are you asking for a show of hands? Are you asking for people to stand up? Are you asking for a secret ballot? The president needs to know how to do all this. Know the steps in a meeting. We have the approval of the minutes. We have the reports. We have the unfinished business. We have the new business. Some people get confused and will skip around. Can't skip around. Learn how to handle a point of order and appeals. Point of order, somebody says, point of order. I think that we needed a 2/3 majority for this, not a simple majority. The chairman has to know how to handle that. And finally, to know more about parliamentary procedure than the other members. So that's something, and I highly recommend, I really, really highly recommend that you can't see it, that you buy this book, the In Brief book. It's easy to read, it's not that long, and it makes everything very clear, and it doesn't cover all 98 types of motions. It covers just the motions you're going to need. The secretary actually has a big job. Send out notice of meetings. So an email to everybody saying that the meeting will be held in 2 weeks on whatever date. To prepare the order of business, in other words, the agenda for the presiding officer. The presiding officer will tell the secretary, here's what we're going to do. But it's the secretary who prepares everything. Read the minutes, correspondence, and resolutions. There's almost never any correspondence. I haven't heard of any correspondence in any of my Toastmasters meetings since I've been a Toastmaster. Record the motions. That's the secretary's job, to record the motion exactly as it's stated. The motion was to cancel winter for the 25-26 year. To assist with voting. And to prepare the draft minutes. Why are they called the draft minutes? Because they're not final minutes until they've been approved. So the minutes that go out ahead of the meeting that get emailed, those are draft minutes. And after they're approved, they become real minutes. And the secretary takes care of the correction and the approval of the minutes. The treasurer has to deliver a treasurer's report. That's the balance as of whatever the starting date is. Receipts, that's the money that comes in. Disbursements, the money that goes out. And the balance. Are there any questions? No questions. See, if there are no questions, that means there are two possibilities. Possibility one is, I did such a wonderful job. I was very thorough. Everybody knows everything. Possibility two is, I did such a rotten job. People don't even know what to ask. So I'm hoping it's the first one and not the second one.
There's a third possibility.
Yeah?
People are tired and they are
That's true too.
and they just want to go disconnect.
Okay. You're right. Third possibility. And finally, why isn't this? There we go. Yeah, it stopped. But the last one was a thank you. And it had my email. So if anybody has any questions, you can email me and I will be happy to answer your questions. Here it is, gitel.tm@gmail.com. So I finished a little early, but that's good. And I'm looking at my calendar and realize I'm not done working. I have to teach a lesson. I'm a teacher and I have a student in 10 minutes. And I'm tired after this. Well, I want to thank you all for attending. And I want to thank Laor and Yafit, who were instrumental in doing this. What did I just do?
You are fantastic, Gitel. You did an amazing job. Thank you so much. And I would like to hear from all of you a big applause to our parliamentarian. We are so proud of you.
Is such a hard job.
Right. We are proud and lucky this year.
I think we lost Gitel for a sec, but we can say that, you know, even now at the annual business meeting, the one where in the convention in Philadelphia, where all the districts were there, you know, and they voted as delegates and everything, there was a big parliamentary question. Like, there was, first they said, someone brought up a motion of like, oh, I move that we do like oof, and Gitel disconnected. I don't even remember the motion itself. It was a really, really obscure thing. The guy came up and like, there were how many parliamentarians in that room? Like, that actually were like in that as helpers, and they had to consult them and like figure out, okay, how do you properly word it? What does it actually affect? Like, this could be a really big job if even in the EBM. So it's not just us who are like this. Usually it's pretty smooth, but it comes up. So it's an important job. You have to be really kind of in the details, and it's really important. Are there any final questions from anyone here? Because Gitel disconnected, but I'm sure maybe if there's a question, at least a couple of us can answer it. I think we're good. All right. So I will call this .x. I don't actually have to,
Adjourn.
because we're adjourned because it's a regular meeting. It's not nothing to vote on. Thank you all for coming, and I hope to see you next time. This will be uploaded to our YouTube channel.